Hello again, everyone. Hope you've had a good morning and a good lunch. And now I'd like to take some time to just tell you a little bit more detail about the graduate program. We got into some questions at lunch today, some of which I'll address here, but there are probably questions on your mind about some of the details. So that's really what this presentation is focused on. And if you have questions, feel free to raise your hand, or we can take questions at the end if I don't talk too long. I'll try not to talk too long. So first I just thought I'd give a little bit of background. You heard from me this morning. I'm a faculty member in the department. I've been here for about 20 years. And then for the past 3 years, I have had the role of Associate Chair for Graduate Studies. So just really making sure that you all have what you need to be successful here. And so some of the aspects of that role are to deal with admissions. So I read all of your applications, so you all look great. Hope you come. But I'm just so glad to see you here after reading your files, right? Also the advisor matching process, I'll talk more about that, but that's something that I lead. The qualifying exams, the curriculum, I do assessment of the program, help you with your individual academic planning or any difficulties that you have. Sometimes I talk with students if they're having issues with their advisor, and I talk about that, help navigate those situations. So, but generally I'm here to help you to be successful in the program, to be your advocate. So we'll talk through, first I'll just talk through some of the curricular issues that you might be wondering about, and a little bit about research and advisor matching, and then other enriching elements of the program, including career preparation. So here are just some of the key steps in earning your PhD at Georgia Tech. When you come the first fall 2022, you'll spend a lot of time taking courses. So in that sense, it's sort of like undergrad. You're taking a lot of courses, 4 core courses typically. But they're more advanced and more depth in chemical engineering fundamentals. During the first fall, you'll also have your advisor assignment, advisor matching process going on. And then in January, you take your PhD qualifying exam, which is based on undergraduate material, but that material is then reinforced in the fall classes, so that can really help you prepare by taking the fall classes, but it's really based on undergraduate material, and reading and critiquing a journal paper, and we really then ask you about the undergraduate fundamentals related to that paper. So that's in January. And then after that, really you get engaged in research. You also take some more classes, you assist with teaching in 3 semesters. At the end of your second year, you would do your PhD proposal, which is defining your plan for your PhD research and defending that to your committee and getting input from your committee on that plan. And then after that, you're doing research in years 4 or 5. So that's the overall timeline. There are core courses that all ChBE students take. Now, if you're in the bioengineering degree program, then you'll have some different course requirements. So I'm really talking about those of you in the ChBE degree program. Is there anyone here who's in the bioengineering program, or are you all with BioE now? Okay. So, but there's more flexibility in the bioengineering program, but a few more classes. So those are some of the key differences. But the core courses for ChBE are thermodynamics, fluid transport, mass transport, mathematical modeling, kinetics and reactor design. You also have a 1 credit hour safety class and an elective class. Now, if you have a master's degree already, then we could talk about transfer credit for some of the courses, maybe up to 3, if the syllabus from that course aligns sufficiently with the syllabus from our course. So we can definitely talk about that if you have graduate courses already. And then in addition, you get to define, Georgia Tech has an institute minor which is a cohesive collection of 3 courses in an area usually outside of ChBE, classes in another department. But this is something that you can define based on your interests, and you can. It can be a good way to really supplement your knowledge for your thesis, so it doesn't have to be completely unrelated to your thesis, but maybe getting a perspective from a different department, for example, in maybe chemistry or in industrial and systems engineering. One new program that we have in ChBE is it's the Graduate Certificate in Data Science for the Chemical Industries. So Georgia Tech has these certificates that you can earn, an official Georgia Tech credential that are 4 courses. And so we've defined this particular program in data science that you can also use for your minor. So you don't actually have to take extra courses if you want to do this program. It's fully online, and we actually designed it for working professionals. So you would be doing group projects with chemical engineers working in industry who would like to learn data science. And so this is a program we started 2 years ago, and has really been growing, and a lot of our current students are engaged in this program. So here's a little bit more information about the qualifying exam. As I mentioned, it's in the January, right after the break at the beginning of the semester. You're provided with a research paper that you provide a summary and a critique in a brief presentation, maybe 10 minutes. And then you present that to a committee of 3 faculty members in an oral exam. And we ask you about issues of thermo and transport and kinetics, fundamentals, and then as they relate to the paper. So, and then most students pass in January, but not all students pass, and that can be a good chance to really practice reading papers and answering questions, and then you can retake the exam in May if you don't pass it. And the vast majority of students do pass. It's not supposed to be like a weed out sort of exam, but just kind of setting the stage for the skills that you'll need to engage in your research. And so we're really here to help you prepare to be successful in the qualifying exam. So in the first year, first semester, really, you'll be selecting a thesis advisor. So while you're here, I really encourage you to just meet as many faculty as you can. So we have a lot of one-on-one meetings. We have the poster sessions. When we get feedback from the weekend, we've really always hear that students really value the opportunity to meet with faculty, so we try to provide as many opportunities as possible. But right now, we just really want you to give you the information you need to decide if you would like to select this program at Georgia Tech, not an individual faculty member. Because we have so many faculty members, we hope that there'll be many of us who you would be really excited to work with when you come, not necessarily just like one person in particular, and that's the advantage of having a large faculty, I think. But the idea is after April 15th passes and you make your decision, and so I hope many of you will decide to come here and accept our offer. And then over the summer, if you want to, you can definitely start preparing and thinking about who you might like to work with. We have a lot of materials online. We've all published papers and that you could read. And we'll also be distributing videos on YouTube or video links from individual faculty members talking about our research group. So we really want to give you access, to content so you can be thinking about your short list. When you arrive in August, we'll have a list of available PhD projects for you, and you can start having one-on-one meetings with individual faculty members. So you need to meet with at least 8 faculty members. There are 40 of us, so still, it's a small subset, but we do want you to meet with a number of folks and get some new ideas, and then if you're particularly interested and want a faculty member, then meet with talk to their graduate students. They'll tell you how it really is to work in that group, and maybe come to their group meeting. So there really is a lot of activity that goes on in August and September around the advisor matching, but it's really important. So we want you to get the information that you need in terms of the technical area, but also in terms of the culture of the group and the community that you'll be a part of for the next 4 or 5 years. So then at the end of September, you submit a ranked list of faculty. And then I match up with available projects. So faculty will have different numbers of funded projects available, and different number of students will be interested. So I really try to make as many number one matches as possible, driven by student interest. And not all students are immediately matched. So I think it's better to not make as many matches necessarily in that first round. There's still available projects. You know, you can still continue to meet with students. So not all students will be matched by October 1st, but some students, usually the majority, will be matched in that first round. So here's some information about the funding. So you should have all gotten, you know, your funding letter, and so we just have a uniform funding model for all of our PhD students that includes the base stipend. We give you additional funds to pay the fees back to the institute, so we don't include that in the base stipend so that you understand, you know, what is the take-home portion, where then the total is $34,381. And then we also, health insurance is mandatory. We have a Georgia Tech plan for you, or if you have other insurance, that's also fine. We expect that you will take some vacation time, and that's really something to navigate with your advisor, in good communication with your advisor, but certainly we expect that you would take some vacation time. And we also have a parental leave for families who have a new child. It's really important to us that you are healthy here. That wellness is really important. It's really important for you to be healthy, to make progress in your studies, in your classes, and in your research. And one of the advantages of being at a university is that you have access to many services, and so we just want to make sure that you know about them and encourage you to take advantage of them, or we can help connect you with services if you need them. But at Georgia Tech, these are some slides that were provided by Georgia Tech, health initiatives about services to help you with self-care. And then, you know, within our facilities, we have the Campus Recreation Center that maybe you'll visit for working out, and we have the Counseling Center. So we have many different programs that you could get involved in to promote your wellness here at Georgia Tech. We have the Health Center and more direct, you know, interventions and therapies available. You know, as well as, you know, medical care. So we just have that range of services, and just really want to point out that your wellness is important to us, and that we're all here to help you with that. One really important part of our community here is provided by our graduate students and their leadership. So ACAGS is our graduate student group, so probably meet many of the ACAGS officers here. This year, our president is Kunal. Lex is our vice president. We have many officers, though, and I took these pictures from our ACAGS website. So, like, Lex is really small here. Kunal's really big. But I just took their headshots off of it. But those sunflowers are beautiful. But anyway, that's Lex right there. So. But they provide a lot of community within our department, but also targeted programs like professional development programs. They run our graduate symposium, have mentoring and service and intramural sports. And so I would also really encourage you to, you know, when you come, to get involved in ACAGS and contribute to that. But certainly that's really important to our program, and we appreciate their leadership. In addition, at Georgia Tech, we're a big school, so we have lots of groups here. We have a Graduate Student Government Association that advocates for our students that you could also get involved in. And we have lots of different more specialized organizations. BBugs is in more the bio space, sort of like ACAGS, but they do a lot of programming that we cross-promote. We have organizations like Novachet. We've actually just rechartered our Novachet chapter this year in partnership with Chemistry, Society of Women Engineers, Georgia Tech Pride Alliance. So we have lots of affinity groups We have a program called Grad Groups that you can enroll in your first semester. That's for 1 credit hour, but it's kind of an extended orientation where you can meet students from across campus, get access to more information, and just lots of interest groups depending on, you know, sports or dance or cultural groups. So it's just really a, you know, large community here. We have our kind of microcosm in chemical engineering, but we're also part of this larger campus, of course. As part of that larger campus, we have the Center for Education, Engineering Education and Diversity, SEED. And actually SEED is the group that organized the College of Engineering recruiting events this evening. So we have a lot of great events for you this evening with our dinner out on the patio. But if you are interested in migrating back and participating in some of the College of Engineering recruiting events at the hotel, those start at 8 o'clock, and then there'll be groups that are going out at 9:30, 9:45, and so they've also just organized a lot of recruiting events that you can also consider. So we just wanted to give you a lot of options. So that's in this kind of recruitment space. And then they also provide a lot of services and mentoring for students, you know, once they're here to support development, including mentoring and going to conferences. That's within the College of Engineering, but within ChBE, we have a program called GT Equal to help us further our goals of broadening participation. 3 years ago, we got a grant from the American Chemical Society through their Bridge program to create GT Equal to enlarge the number of students from underrepresented groups in STEM in the U.S. getting their PhD in chemical engineering. So we were part of the inaugural group of Bridge sites. There's 2 of us, chemistry at University of Wisconsin in our program. There's now a second program at the University of Houston in chemical engineering. But students who come in to the Bridge program have a tailored master's degree that allows us to bring in students with more non-traditional backgrounds and provide a kind of a tailored master's before engaging in the PhD. So you all are here, so this program is not for you. You are already admitted, but the applications are due March 31st, so if you know of someone, a friend who is interested in getting their PhD, who's from one of these groups, applications are due March 31st, and so this would also be to enroll in the fall. So if you want more information about that, I would be happy to tell you more about that. Thomas was part of our first cohort, and he just won Georgia Tech's Best Thesis Award for his master's thesis. He's working with Julie Champion and is now in the PhD program. We also have ability to engage in mentoring. In one of the mentoring programs, we have graduate students can be mentors for undergraduate students through the Success program. So that's another example of not only being mentored, but being able to be a mentor. Another aspect of our program that we started a couple of years ago is to provide more professional training, sort of soft skills, to prepare you for leaving Georgia Tech and wherever you decide to go. So we decided to develop a series of workshops that you can choose ones that are of interest to you. But the idea is while you're here at Georgia Tech that you would engage in probably about 3 workshops for a total of at least 10 hours. You need to accrue 10 units. And so some of the examples are shown here. We have certain ones that we have every year, like in the fall we have a fellowship workshop aimed towards writing an NSF fellowship. In the spring, we have the proposal writing workshop that we had earlier this week for second-year students as they're writing their proposal. But we also have other topics like project management that Blair Bretman has done, and we have teamwork and team science, and we have leadership. So you can the idea is that you can choose something that's of interest to you. Communication is really important, so many of our workshops include communication, but we also want to make sure that you have opportunities to present your work. That can start within your research group presentations, but also we have the annual 4th-year colloquium. At the beginning of your 4th year, you'll present your research to like a mini conference here in our department, and we have it in August so that the incoming students, like yourself, can really learn about research going on in the department. So that's something that we have during orientation week. We also have the Graduate Symposium in February where we bring in companies from outside and you all present to them, and then it's really a kind of a recruiting event, and companies come. A lot of them are alums from our program who come back for the symposium. So that's a graduate student organized event that we've had for many years and is a really strong program. We also expect that you'll present at conferences and then finally also at your thesis defense. As part of our program, we have different ways for you to get experience teaching and learning about teaching. So each PhD student in the program will engage in teaching, assisting with teaching 3 different semesters while you're here. And this is about 5 hours a week, sometimes up to maybe 10 hours a week. The idea is that it's not, taking the majority of your time, but you can contribute to the educational mission in our undergraduate program generally, and also get some experience in teaching. If you're interested in getting more experience, we have a program called Tech to Teaching at Georgia Tech, where you can take some classes in teaching and then kind of co-teach a course. And so that's just another option for those of you who are interested. And if your BioE students need to do a teaching practicum as part of their program, but that can be arranged to be in conjunction with one of the 3 ChBE semesters. But teaching here is not at all tied to funding. All students who are here are GRAs unless you're on a fellowship with external funding. And so everyone is kind of in the same boat. Everyone's kind of participating in teaching equally unless you wish to engage in something like Tech to Teaching to get additional experience. So Calvin is one of the students in my group who got the Tech to Teaching credential, and so I got to watch him as he was going through the program, and including his capstone teaching. So I think it's a really great program for those who are interested in that. And we've also been working not only to provide opportunity for teaching and credentials in teaching, but also more generally to prepare for faculty career for students who are interested in that. For a number of years, we've had a course, future faculty course that we do in partnership with electrical and computer engineering, a 1 credit hour course in the fall that gives lectures or panel discussions on various topics in teaching. But last year I thought that we should also have more direct ChBE interaction, including more like small group discussions and kind of building relationship and community around this topic. And so we created a new program. This year we have 7 graduate students. I couldn't find the 7th picture on LinkedIn of Nick Leone, but these students are working with an undergraduate student who is interested in getting their PhD. So they're doing mentoring. We have faculty mentors, including Tom and Julian, who just joined and can share their experience going through the hiring process. These students also engage in our faculty interview process. So they've been interviewing our faculty candidates and reviewing their packages and providing feedback on the faculty candidates. So that's just a way to provide kind of more access to information about not only how to get a faculty career, but also what it's like to be a faculty member. We also have a growing internship program. So if you're interested in doing an industrial internship or with a national lab, that's definitely a possibility. I think it's something that can be very good experience for students who are interested in doing that. Georgia Tech recently created a formal program for graduate internships, so you maintain status as a student and health insurance and get it on your transcript, and so that's, I think, just been further helpful to promote the internship program. But many of our students do internships, so in the last year I've had 3 of the students in my group do internships. Stephanie Kosevska went to Savannah River National Lab, and Erin Liu went to BASF, and Rahul Venkatesh to Dow. So I think, for all of them, that it was really an enriching experience that we encourage. So here are some examples of students who did internships a few years ago. Sophie Kim did an internship at ExxonMobil in machine learning and optimization. And so she shared some of the things that she learned through her internship. Fast pace, more concrete impact, importance of interpersonal skills. So, and then she ultimately went to work at Dow. So she's at Dow now. Alex Soros went to Bristol-Myers Squibb, and so she also, shared some of the benefits of her internship, greatly expanded network, confidence booster, exposure to new region, and she actually did go to Bristol-Myers Squibb. So she's now went there after completing her PhD. So sometimes it can be, the internship can actually turn into a permanent offer that you might accept. So here are just some examples of the companies where our students go. Of course, the chemical engineering degree is so broad, so you can do so many different things. So we have students who go to kind of traditional, chemical engineering industries, but also so many other places. So just a lot of options. But these are just some examples. And then we also have a number of students in academic positions, both within the US and internationally. So that concludes my presentation. And I would be happy to take questions. We have a lot of time for questions. So I didn't want to have too many slides, but I would be happy to take questions from anyone. Thank you. Yes?
The 3 courses for graduate minor, is it required for all students or is it just optional?
So it is required. So for the PhD degree, you need to take basically 9 3-credit hour courses. And we have a lot of information about the details of the course requirement also in the graduate handbook, which we have posted on our website. So if you go to chbe.godtech.edu and then graduate, there's a graduate tab, and then you go down and it's graduate handbook. So there are detailed requirements there. But basically you need to take 9 courses plus several 1-credit hour courses like seminar and introduction to research, safety, to fulfill your degree requirement. So, and that minor is part of institute requirement. So that's not actually the ChBE requirement. So it's really for all of Georgia Tech to have this concentration outside of your, core discipline. Yeah.
About how long do students normally take to get their PhD?
So 5 years is typical, but there's a distribution. Students sometimes do it in 4 years. Sometimes students do it in 6 years. So, but 5 years I think is very, very typical. And I think the PhD is really about learning how to do research. So I think the sooner that you can really do research, then you have a certain number of years until you finish, So I think I do think it's just really important when you come in, to really engage strongly, not to sort of think about it like, oh, I have so much time, even though it is a lot of time, but you really don't. So it's really important to get going. And then really to get to that first publication, okay? Which is it's not easy to publish that first paper, your first lead author paper, but once you have that first lead author paper, then kind of, oh, now I see how this works. So I think that's what I would encourage you, wherever you go, to really think about really learning, really engaging very strongly from the beginning to figure out, what do you need to do? What are the skills you need to learn to get that first paper? Including writing a paper. So there's a lot also just in the writing of the first paper, and I think a lot of that will then determine your future productivity. And then you can decide how long to stay also based on how much more work you want to do, and maybe you and your advisor want you to stay and publish 10 papers. But getting that first paper is just a huge milestone. The sooner you can do that, the better off you'll be. You also have to be patient, but just to get that, have that intensity to get that first paper. Other questions? Yes.
So I was talking to grad students recently, and they said it's a good idea to have no MATLAB coming in. Could you confirm that? Would that be a helpful skill to have?
Yes. So one of the core courses is mathematical modeling, ChBE 6500. And that includes MATLAB programming. So if you have not done any programming in MATLAB before, you don't have to know it coming in. You could learn it in 6500, but it would be helpful to do some of your own. I think that would be time well spent if you haven't done that before. You know, it's not required. We'll help you. Professor Paravastu has been teaching the course for many years. He's very helpful and very much wants to help students. So, but it is true that if you come in having even just some basic code, that I think you would be glad. Yeah. And then coming out of that course, coming out of that first fall, you know, you all will have proficiency in writing MATLAB code, and so that's something that then, you know, can be very valuable to you in your future research, whether or not you're working in more of a computational group or more of an experimental group. You know, to have the ability to do some modeling and analysis of your data is I think, important part of being a chemical engineer, kind of the engineering part of that, to have those tools in your toolbox. So that's really a lot of what that course is about, is introducing you to tools that could be very valuable for your research. Yes?
What, if people do decide to do an internship, like when does that normally?
I think that it is a good idea. Oh, now I realized my microphone is here. My sweater. That makes sense. So I think that it's a good idea to do your PhD proposal before you do an internship. So we recommend that you do your PhD proposal in the spring of your second year. So I would say you could do an internship as early as the summer of your second year. I think a really good time to do it would be summer of your third year. You know, that's a pretty common time to do it. But you can do an internship in the fall or the spring semester. And that's also fine. It hadn't been as common for companies to do that, but I think now it's becoming more common that a company would take you on for fall or spring. And sometimes people will do it later on, you know, that they haven't done an internship and they're getting towards graduation, and then they think, you know, I would really like to have that experience. So it's never too late, you know, but at some point you just want to finish. So there's really a range. I think summer of third year is a good time, but it's pretty flexible. And I think it's just also something to really, communication is so important generally, but communicating with your advisor about interest in an internship, and then also about when would be a good time, you know, for the project is really important. There might be certain semester when it wouldn't work out so well for the project that you're working on. And so just to let them know. But, you know, it's most faculty, it's, you know, just good to communicate about that. And then the faculty member may also have some contacts and could help you find an internship. But I also am we have an email digest for graduate students where we post announcements and things that comes out. So I'm always getting announcements and I'm posting them, and others are posting for permanent jobs as well. We also have a LinkedIn group for ChBE graduate students and then alum. And so I've also been encouraging alum to post you know, job ads and internship ads in the LinkedIn group, and that's also a network for you among our alums to reach out if you have a certain company you're interested in. You know, you can reach out to folks in the LinkedIn group. Anyway, there are different ways, but we don't have a formal sort of monolithic, you know, internship program will replace you. It's really, you know, just about finding, putting out your interest and letting people know and talking with your advisor. But we really have more and more students every year who do internships. And I've always found with all of my students who have done internships that they just get a lot of professional skills, they get some new perspectives, and then they come back, and then they're just ready to really like finish. Or to just re-engage, like they're newly energized, you know? So it's whether or not it's related to their research or not related to their research, you know, I've had both examples, but in all cases, I felt like it was just very positive for their development and their productivity. So I think that's, you know, a common view among faculty. Yes?
Can you tell me more about the bioengineering program?
About the bioengineering program? Sure. So are you in the bioengineering program?
No, I'm ChBE.
Okay. So for many years, long predating our biomedical engineering department's existence, Georgia Tech has had the bioengineering interdisciplinary degree program. And so there are participating program faculty members in the bioengineering degree program from ChBE, mechanical engineering, biomedical engineering, electrical engineering, who do work in sort of the biospace. So engineering, and they need to have a home school. So the home school could be ChBE. So the degree program with ChBE homeschool. Does anyone want to raise their hand? Okay. So if you're in the bioengineering degree program, you can do your PhD, have your faculty advisor be any bioengineering program faculty. So you might work with someone in mechanical engineering who's in the bioengineering program. So you have a different set of advisors to choose from. Of course, we have many ChBE faculty member in the bioengineering degree program, but you have a different collection of faculty to choose from, and then a different set of course requirements also. So you don't take you're not required to take all of these same core courses, but there are different. But there's somewhat more flexibility, I would say, to design your own curriculum. And then you take more classes, but more flexible. So, you know, I don't know that one is like easier or harder, you know, but they're different. They're different. And so, you know, basically, if you have been admitted as a ChBE student for the ChBE degree program and you would like to switch to BioE, it's usually no problem at all. Although I think for international students, there might be some restriction on when you can do that. Bioengineering has their own matching process because it's a different collection of faculty. So if you're in bioengineering, ChBE homeschool, and you decide you'd rather do ChBE, like that's also fine, you know. But there are different course requirements and different sets of advisors. So if you do have an strong interest in the bioengineering degree program, you can read more about it on the website, bioengineering.gatech.edu. And you can ask me about it. You can also ask Professor Hong Liu. She is the director of the bioengineering program. And Mark Stuzinski is the co-director. So it just happens the director and the co-director are both ChBE faculty members. So you can also, you know, talk with them about it. But we collaborate very strongly. But it's just another option. Yeah. Yes.
How is the dynamic for graduate students over the summer semesters?
How is the what?
The dynamic.
The dynamic. So I think that it's a really good time to just really engage in research. I mean, because during the school year, you're taking classes, you might have, you know, exam, or you're maybe doing some teaching. So during the summer, tends to be more open, right? So it's different. I really enjoy, you know, the periodicity of the academic schedule. You know, I think of, if I just had like a real job, you know, and it's just like every day, sort of, you know, this sort of the same somehow. So I like the differences in the seasons, you know. But summer, I think it's just a time when it's just really, you know, much more open. And, you know, you might also find, you know, that rejuvenating, and also, you know, maybe have more time for self-care or something, you know, but I think, you know, that the first summer, that will be a time to really engage in research. You know, we really want you to strongly engage in your research in the spring semester, then you're also probably taking 2 classes and you know, getting up to speed. So that first summer, then, you know, can just, but also, you know, could be a time to take some vacation as well. But unlike some departments, you know, you're funded as a GRA, 12 months, and so, you know, so, but in different times of the year, you know, you'll be having different emphasis. Yes?
So when is it typical for grad students to TA, and what is the typical load look like versus class? Like what would the TA be responsible for?
Yeah. So we really encourage you to talk with the instructor about your interests and what you would like to do. Really, it's not really fixed. I also really encourage students to think about if there's a professor they would like to teach with, a class they would like to teach, when they would like to teach, and just encourage everyone to just let me know. And usually I can, a lot of students don't email me, so I can usually, whatever people want, I can just accommodate. So I really try to be responsive to student interests. Sometimes students will TA in even the first spring, but that's not so common right now. But you know, summer or fall for the first time, and just really encourage students to, you know, keep track of the time that they're spending. It's really not supposed to be a huge workload. It's for you to engage in teaching and you know, have that different perspective. You know, get to work with students, get to meet a new faculty member. But a number of years ago, 5 or maybe 10, we started hiring undergraduate course assistants, which was a huge benefit to our program. And so most of the undergraduate classes have 1 or even 2 undergrads who work 10 hours a week. And so they do a lot of grading, especially they do homework grading. So that has, so as a graduate student, you know, generally, you know, we don't want you to be spending a lot of time grading homework. So that's not, the point is to hold office hours, have a recitation section. You know, if you're interested, maybe you can write an exam problem and grade it, you know, to kind of get some experience with that. So, you know, a lot of the, you know, maybe more mundane kind of stuff like homework grading is done by undergraduate students. Yes?
Your fellowships, do you not have to?
All students are involved equally in the teaching mission. So the funding doesn't have anything to do with the teaching. So everybody, you know, it's something that we really want you to have that exposure, and it's not something like, you know, is a punishment or something, and it's just not tied to funding. So we really want to make it a positive experience, and I'm always trying to get feedback about how we can, you know, really use it to further your professional development. But fellowship students also participate in the teaching requirement. Yeah. Yes?
Would you say that it's pretty common for students to get matched with like their top, second, or third faculty choice?
So I would say what I have been doing is that I try to make as many #1 matches as I can, and then some #2. And so I think among, you know, 40 faculty, you know, that's you know, 1 or 2, sometimes 3, but much less common. What I prefer to do is to have students who are not matched. So rather than, you know, like saying, okay, I'm going to assign you to your 10th choice, you know, we just have another matching process. So you know, every student, it's just not feasible to match everyone with their #1 choice just because of the number of slots available. And so I really prefer to just have a second round and say, you know, here you talk to 8 professors, but we have 32 more, you know, and here are all these projects. And then to just have new set of meetings. So that's really how I've managed it. So in that case, you might join a lab of someone that wasn't even in your initial ranking because you didn't even know who they were, really. So that's really how I do it, rather than just matching everybody in one round. So I'm a feedback person. I really believe in sequential decision making. So that's why I like to have these multiple rounds. I think that's better. And so there are a number of students who are, maybe a quarter of the students or something, who are matched in the first round. So it's not like there's one person who's not matched or something. You know, so it's common to not be matched in the first round, and to, you know, just have a new set of conversations. Or you might end up joining the lab of someone who you did, you know, talk with, but to have that be more of like an affirmative decision between the faculty member or the student, rather than me like imposing that. Okay, I think we're at 2:30. Okay, good to talk with you, and I'll turn it over to Professor Bettman.